So Sony just released the new Sony FX30. And this video, we're going to discuss if you should upgrade or not. If you have an A6600 or if you have a full frame A7c, A7 III, A7S3, of course not. Now, I'm a poor YouTuber. Now, here's all the rich YouTubers. They got the embargo period. They had early access to the camera, and there are tons of reviews out already. So I'm not going to review it because I don't own it, but I do own an A7c and I do own an A6600. So from a person who has both cameras, would I upgrade? Or how much of an upgrade is this compared to the A6600 or even the A7c? And I'm going to tell you, compared to the A66, this is a tremendous upgrade. It's a huge upgrade. Now, this camera has a new sensor, 26 megapixels. It does 10-bit 422, 4K 60, 4K 120. Even though it's a huge crop, it's still 4K 120. And the 6600 only does 4K 30p. Let's talk about the price. The price between the 6600 and the new FX30 is only a $400 price difference. So $400, you get a whole lot more. You get the latest and greatest when it comes to technology from Sony. You get the focus breathing, which was first released with the A7 IV, and you also get the focus mapping. Now, I'm gonna be honest, if you're just making YouTube videos and whatnot, the focus breathing is really kind of overrated because you need a GM master lens to take advantage of the focus breathing feature. And you know, we all know GM master lenses cost just as much as a damn camera. So you look at $1,800 plus taxes, that's almost $2,000, and you might be able to find a used G Master on eBay for maybe $800 to $1,200. So you almost at the $3,000 price range just to take advantage of focus breathing. I don't think it's worth it. But in this thing, it does 7K downsampling to 4K at 10-bit. 4K 60. So the A6600, they both had the 1.5 crop factor coming from a full frame camera. So that's void and null. The ergonomics of these cameras will have to go to the A6600 because it does have a viewfinder and it still has the same battery, the same grip, the same autofocus prowess as the FX30, because the 6600 was the first camera to get that updated autofocus when it comes with animal and human recognition, eye recognition. It works great. X30 has 495 phase detection points compared to the A66 425 phase detection points. And I'm going to tell you, that's just because of the new 26 megapixels. As far as performance, it's going to be pretty much identical. But you know, that 10-bit, that 4K 60, that 4K 120p, and the 120p is really crippled because it's a 1.6 crop, which is, that's substantially, especially when you add, if you're going to use active stabilization, that's going to increase the crop by another 0.2. So you really can't use it with the active stabilization. And that's one thing that the FX30 has over the A6600. It has active stabilization. It also has the catalyst browse feature where you can save the metadata and go in after post and stabilize the footage, which is very helpful. The A7c was the second to get that, or the first. The Sony EV10 also has that feature. Feature that the FX30 has, it allows you to add your LUTs into the camera. And you can bake them into the footage, so you don't have to do it in post. But again, to me, that's not a big deal. Because as we all know, a few clicks of the button, you can add your LUT in post in a matter of minutes. So you don't save a lot of time. And I think sometimes baking LUTs into a camera as you record, you don't get that same adjustability or that same ability to to color grade. Now, this camera does feature the handle, the grip, which will give you tremendous advantages when it comes to audio and what you can input into the camera, because you have an XLR input versus the regular 3.5 millimeter jack. So you have an unlimited range of microphones and sound devices that you can use with this camera. This is really a huge upgrade because it's only $400 more than the A6600. But if you have the A6600 and you're not doing like client work for businesses, you're not making major films, you're just using it for YouTube and your hobby, you're really not going to see a huge difference with the final product, because both of these cameras do 4K phenomenally well. I mean, the image on the A6600 is already good. Now, the color science is definitely upgraded because you have the same color science that you have in the FX3. But a little color correction and post, you can really, you're not going to see the difference. And 10-bit, 8-bit, yeah, I know it's a big thing now. I mean, these companies want to sell more cameras, and 10-bit is definitely an advantage, but you're not going to see that much of a difference in the final product unless you're grading S-Log3 and you're really putting a heavy grade on it. But for most people, like myself included, we're just taking they're taking the footage, you put a little LUT on it, a little correction, and that's about it. So 8-bit will still work wonders in 2022. Battery life is pretty much identical. They both use the same new Sony batteries. So in conclusion, if you don't already have an A6600, if you have anything, A64, A61, then you should probably sell it and maybe upgrade, if you don't mind, the lack of a viewfinder. To video, this is one of the best cameras for the Aps-c lineup, point blank period. And I think Sony was really pressured into making this camera because of the competition. And they put this camera out at a great price. So let's say you got the A7c, and should you swap it out, or is this an upgrade for the A7c? Yes and no. The main difference is the A7c is a full frame camera, and full frame, you're gonna gain. You get that full frame look. You get the 35 millimeter lens. You get the real 35 millimeter. You put that same lens on the FX30, you're gonna get a 52.5 millimeter. And also, let's say you got a 1.4 lens. You do that crop, it's more like a 2.0 lens. So you're gonna lose some light. You're gonna lose some depth of field. It's not a whole lot. It's more like 2/3 stops, but you're gonna lose that. So, me personally, I love my full frame Sony A7C. I'm filming on it right now, and I think it's a beautiful camera. I love the look of it. I love the size of it. Yeah, I do wish I could shoot 4K 60. That would be nice, But how often am I really going to shoot 4K 60? I'm just making YouTube review videos. I could take 4K 30 and slow it down, and it's not going to be as dramatic. Might not, but it's still going to look good. A7C actually has 625 phase detection points when it comes to autofocus. So, even still, with the more autofocus, it's just because it's a full frame, you have a larger sensor, you still get the same performance with all three cameras compared. It's pretty much the same. The autofocus, Sony is the industry leading when it comes to autofocus. So, A7C, I would say if you have A7C, and these are pretty much the same price, that's a tough decision. If you just come into the Sony market and you want to get a new camera, and they both are the same price, that is really tough. You guys can talk about it in the comments, but that's a tough one. I will have to. Oh, that's real tough. A7C or the Sony FX30. Well, that's something to think about. But that's it for now. Sony just released this new beast of a camera, the FX30. This is now the king of the Aps-c body type. There is none that can compare to this camera when it comes to Aps-c. This camera is like, it's the heavyweight champ right now. Sony really surprised me. I don't have the camera to be hands-on, but I don't watch countless reviews from Gerald Undone, from Phone Guy, from this guy and that other guy, and they all, of course, gonna give it great reviews because they got it early and they say that they're not paid, and they're not paid, but we all know they're sort of paid because if you get the camera, you got a relationship with Sony, you're gonna get future cameras, and when you get them before everybody else, you get countless views, and we all know views and hours is what gets you paid in YouTube. So this is definitely unsponsored. This is definitely the best camera you can get. Future-proof your purchase. This camera's gonna last years and years. And one other feature I forgot, this camera does have a full HDMI output. So you can get 16-bit RAW going into like a Ninja recorder or something like that. And that right there is just phenomenal. I mean, 16-bit RAW, I don't know what I would do with that, but that just shows you that this camera is gonna last you for the next 5 to 10 years. Easy, hands down. But there you have it. And also, the FX3 costs twice as much. And it's the same body style. The same, everything is the same, except for it doesn't say full frame on the camera. That's pretty much it. Now, it's a full frame. Like I said, you do get the full frame benefits of the FX3. But for half the price, wow. This camera is a beast for half the price of the FX3. Man, I wish I didn't have the A7c right now. I would definitely try to get this camera. But yeah, check it out, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm out.